This is Iceland. Welcome back to another travel video. This time, we're in Iceland. When I think of our time in Iceland, I would describe it as the place you go if you want to see a lot of natural beauty. In a lot of ways, Iceland feels like you're on a different planet or in a fantasy world, and as you drive around the country, the scenery changes so dramatically and so quickly. I never planned on making this video, so I don't have the best footage, but I really enjoyed our time in Iceland and I wanted to share. So I'll do my best for now. I really want to go back one day and really do it justice. The first thing you're going to want to think about when you plan a trip to Iceland is what time of the year you're going to go. Peak season is during the summertime, but we went during October, which is kind of the shoulder season. Iceland's a road trip destination, so the closer you go to winter, the more you're going to be fighting against the weather. Storms flare up quickly and the roads shut down suddenly. There's only one road, there's no alternate routes. So that can be a really stressful situation if you have a tight schedule. October's right at the beginning of their winter and it was beautiful. You can still see all the landscapes, and we got the opportunity to see some glaciers and some ice on the black sand beaches. First thing you're going to notice when you land in Iceland is everything just looks different. Instead of brown soil, everything is covered in black volcanic soot, so everything has these dark and moody undertones. It's one of the coolest places I've ever been on Earth. The first thing we did when we got off the plane was go pick up our car. There's a shuttle that takes you from the airport, or it's just a quick little walk over to where all the rental car companies are. Maybe a 10-minute walk. There's so many people who do this road trip and there's so many different rental car companies, you probably can't go wrong. The only thing you really have to consider is if you want to go to some of the more off-roady kind of places, you might have to rent more of a rugged car. We just went with the cheapest car and stayed on kind of the more main roads and it was no problem. So driving around Iceland is actually pretty comfortable. You're on this 2-lane road, one in each direction, and it's really well maintained. We planned our trip so that our stops are about 2 to 3 hours apart, and we would just take our time driving down this road, kind of pulling off, seeing the natural sights as they came, or even going on short hikes. Also, quick tip, there are speed cameras everywhere, so it's not uncommon to hear about someone coming home from their Iceland road trip and getting $500 in speeding tickets racked up. So do your best to always obey the speed limit. So like I said, our first day, we arrived pretty early, picked up our car, drove straight to our first destination, just to get a little nap in. For us, this meant the Greenhouse Hotel in Hveragerði. These names are rough, I'm going to do my best, but it's about an hour drive from the Keflavik airport. After a quick nap, we went around and explored our surroundings a little bit. There's no shortage of beautiful nature anywhere you go in Iceland, so we just kind of walked around our hotel. We explored the little town and went off on a little hike around the area. Now, let me talk about the food in Iceland. It's very expensive. I don't think we got away with a single meal that was less than $20 per person. But if you get creative, you can come up with some clever solutions to this. At the Greenhouse Hotel, there were a bunch of little food stalls, and we ended up eating at one called Yuzu Burger, which was delicious. But let me introduce you to what would become our friend for the rest of this trip. This little chain of stores called Bonus. It has this cute little piggy bank mascot, and look at how happy and cute he is. And then you go inside the store, and our friend's waiting for us inside, and wait, what's that look on his face? Anyway, these little stores are a great source of cheap food, and you can definitely come up with some reasonably priced meals if you shop here. My wife and I always debate what's a more authentic cultural experience, eating at local restaurants or shopping at local grocery stores. So we kind of try and mix it up and do a little bit of both. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. After our stay at the greenhouse, we continued on the road all the way to our next destination, which was Vik. Depending on what season you go in, it'll determine how much daylight you have to drive. Like I said, we went during a shoulder season, so days were still kind of long enough, and on the way to Vik, we decided to go a little bit north to the Thingvellir National Park. People usually do this as part of the Golden Circle, which we did do the Golden Circle, but not until the way back, so I'll get into that a little bit later. But this is a beautiful national park. We did a little hike around that we found on all trails, but really the highlight was this tectonic plate. We came in autumn, so we got these beautiful views of these fall trees with the plate in the background, and you can actually go scuba diving between the tectonic plates. My wife loves scuba diving, but it was a little too cold, so I don't know, we just decided against it, but I've heard great things about it. And this park's kind of wild because you'll see these small cracks on the ground, but then you look in and they just seem to go down forever. It's actually pretty terrifying. That was really the highlight of this day, but there's all kinds of beautiful waterfalls you can stop at along the way. And the waterfalls in Iceland are all crazy to see. There's so many of them that they start to kind of blend together a little bit in my mind, but they're all beautiful and unique in their own way. You could literally stop every 20-30 minutes and see a brand new waterfall. So on to Vik. It's kind of a small town. There's some food and lodging options around, so it's a good place to stop for the night. And it's known for being right along this black sand beach. We decided kind of last minute to go horseback riding on these beaches, and that was a lot of fun. We got some good pictures in front of the sunset. There's actually an even cooler part of this beach, and that's on the other side of this little mountain, but we didn't realize that until the way back. So I'll talk about that later. The other side of this beach was honestly one of the most scenic parts of Iceland. You can get some great photos. So after Vik, my wife really wanted to stay at this Foss hotel at Glacier Lagoon. Up to this point, the area is kind of mountainous, but the drive from Vik to Glacier Lagoon Lagoon is very flat and there's a lot of gravel as opposed to all the grass you've been driving through. So like I said, it really is crazy how dramatically the landscape changes as you go. We stopped at a couple of landmarks along the way, some waterfalls, some cool art installations, I guess. I don't know what you call this. Our big activity for a day was another hike, and you can basically walk all the way out to the glacier, and I'd never seen a glacier before, so we figured why not. It was a decent little hike, pretty flat, not that long. The place we stopped at, they offer guided tours where they can give you like the spiked boots and the ice picks. You can actually climb on the glacier, but we decided to just kind of walk up to it and take pictures. It was really amazingly serene and quiet, and it makes you feel tiny on this planet, just seeing what's left of this massive glacier being right next to it. But after that, we just made our way to the Foss Hotel, Glacier Lagoon, and this is basically as far as we went on the southern part of the island, just because at this time of year, anything further west of north gets a little dicey, just because of all the storms and windiness and the roads get shut down due to snow or whatever conditions. This is something we knew ahead of time when we planned our trip, so we knew this is as far as we would go. And as I talk more about this trip, you'll start to understand why. This is actually the right decision, and I'm so glad we decided to just stop here. But there's one more site we really wanted to see, so we dropped our stuff off at this Foss Hotel and headed further along the coast. After about another 30 minutes, we were at the Glacier Lagoon. Now, the Glacier Lagoon is really beautiful. I don't know if it was the time of year we came at, but just seeing those glaciers float around. And right across the street is a place called Diamond Beach, which is one of the most unique and beautiful places I've ever been on Earth. The contrast between the pitch black sand and the completely white or crystal clear ice chunks is just amazing to look at. It looks like some kind of man-made art installation. It's hard to believe it's just some naturally occurring thing. So we spent some time there, took some pictures, and then headed back to our hotel. And at the hotel, there were a bunch of people kind of hanging around in the lobby and the bar, and there are some rumblings about how there's going to be a big storm the next day. Now, all the roads were going to be shut down, and our next accommodation was back in Vik, and all the locals were saying there's going to be no way you're going to be able to drive back. So we weighed our options a little bit, and we decided the best thing to do was just go to sleep right away and wake up at 3 a.m. and make a drive. And it turned out to be an amazing decision. This drive was one of the most scenic things I've ever done in my life. I have vivid memories of making this drive back. My wife and I talk about this drive all the time. It was basically under a full moon on these flat Icelandic plains. You can kind of see the clouds and the mountains in the background. It's too dark to get any footage, but this is some of my favorite memories of this trip. The only thing that would have been better is if we saw the northern lights. That's one thing I wanted to talk about briefly because it's the one thing everyone asks. And no, we never got to see the northern lights, which is a huge bummer, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, it's definitely not a guaranteed thing. It's kind of like going to a country and hoping it rains while you're there. It's basically just another weather condition. It's definitely not rare, but you can get unlucky and just never see it. There's a couple different websites like NORAD or other websites that try and predict how likely you are to see them, but people we talked to told us it was basically totally random and you had a chance of seeing them even when those websites said there was no chance at all. One night we just drove out to the middle of nowhere hoping to get away from some light pollution, parked the car and just stared at the sky for an hour hoping we could see something, but we never did. Anyway, we ended up getting back to Vik early in the morning and we basically just stocked up on groceries and camped out for the day while we waited for the storm to pass. It was really windy and left a nice dusting of snow, which kind of changed up the scenery for the rest of the drive and gave us a little bit of variety, which was pretty nice. So after our day in Vik, we had one more attraction to go, and that's the famous Golden Circle. It's not just one attraction, I guess. It's like kind of a circular road where you get to see the most iconic Iceland sights. So one of them was the Thingvellir National Park, which we already went to, but some of the other ones were the famous Gullfoss, which is just a huge waterfall and probably the windiest place I've ever been, and the famous Geysir, which has a huge eruption every 15 minutes or so. But there's a whole bunch of other little things you can stop at along the way. There's other waterfalls you can see, and yeah, it's a scenic drive. Actually, one recommendation I have is we ate at this restaurant. It was basically farm to table, and it was delicious. A little morbid though. It's like a burger restaurant, but you can see the cows that the burgers come from while you eat the burger. Kind of mixed feelings about that, but the food is really good. And also, how could I forget, before the Golden Circle, on our way up there, we stopped at the other side of that black sand beach, and this is what it looks like. Again, it's super beautiful. There was someone having a wedding here. It was so cold. I was freezing in my winter coat. I don't know how they were taking wedding photos, but those are basically the last few attractions on our list before we went back to the main city of Reykjavik. Reykjavik's a pretty small city. The downtown area is super walkable. You can get to a whole bunch of interesting things to do. Some of the highlights were this apparently famous cinnamon bun shop, which we ended up going to every day. It was actually really good. I recommend checking this place out. And there's also like coffee shops nearby and this Viking looking church thing that you see in all the pictures. It's super photogenic, but we never ended up going inside. But the parking lot is free, and actually the hotel staff recommended you just park your car there overnight, which is pretty much what it seemed like everyone was doing. So great church and great parking options. Now the final thing I'll mention is this hot spring called the Blue Lagoon. So what this is basically all of Iceland runs off these these geothermal power plants. Basically, there's so much like molten lava right under the Earth's surface in Iceland that it's just constantly burning off water and pushing steam up through the ground. So these power plants like take the steam and they convert it into electricity. But as a byproduct, they're left with all this water, and this water has a lot of like natural earth minerals in it. So what they decided to do was just kind of dump the water off into a local sort of lake thing, and they built this high-end resort around it. And this silica water that pours off this power plant has this beautiful blue hue to it, and supposedly has really beneficial effects on your skin. And they sell a bunch of skincare products here too. So basically what you end up with is this really relaxing spa, and even though it's like below freezing temperatures outside, the water is so hot and comfortable you don't even notice once you're in. In fact, once we got out, I did the whole 10-minute walk back to the car shirtless basically, because your body is just so like warmed up from the heat. You don't even notice that it's freezing outside. They have these little swim up bars where you can get like facial masks or drinks, and they have basically different packages. You'll probably have like at least one of each of those things included when you book your ticket. The one thing is they say don't dunk your hair in the water because it can really damage it. Now, one tip for this place is I've heard it gets very crowded. All visits are by reservation only. So what we did was we just booked the first one. I think it was like 8 a.m. and I would really recommend doing this. Not only was it cheaper, but we were basically the first ones there. So for a while we were kind of swimming around by ourselves. Not by ourselves, but there's plenty of room to roam around. It's about a 30-45 minute drive from Reykjavik. So you have to wake up a little early, but it's totally worth it. And that's it. That was our Iceland trip. Final thoughts: absolutely beautiful scenery, most amazing road trip in my life, and so many unique experiences. I definitely plan on going back one day, maybe during a different season, hopefully get to experience the rest of the island, and hopefully see the northern lights. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it this far, check out some of my other videos. We've done Peru, Spain, the Maldives, and we have more coming up. So if you're interested in seeing Hong Kong, South Korea, Japan, Amsterdam, we have all those trips planned. So subscribe to check those videos out, and until then, thanks for watching.